Hey everyone, good morning, good evening, good to you, wherever you may be. I'm Mark Cook. I'm the CEO of Shiny Shoe. We are the creators of Monster Train. Welcome once again to another developer stream where we are going to talk more about our upcoming update to Monster Train, Friends and Foes, which is a free update to the game. We've been previewing a little bit about what's going to happen in the update over the past 2 weeks, but today we're going all in. We're going to reveal everything. New champions. We've been looking at some of the new champions. We're going to see them all now. We're going to see what they do. New bosses. We're going to look at all of them and see what they do. New gameplay mechanics. New other player requested features. A cornucopia of different and new things in Monster Train. So to catch you up, if you have not seen the streams over the past couple of weeks, yeah, that's what Friends and Foes is really all about. 5 new champions, 1 per clan. They unlock once you get your clan to level 5. And then a new boss at the 3rd Ring of Hell, Talos. A new boss at the 6th Ring of Hell, Arcus. And, revealing today, a new Seraph as well. A 4th variation of Seraph to mix up your runs. We're going to see what he does in just a few minutes when we go over to the game. But yeah, we wanted to try to really expand the possibility space with regards to what types of decks you need to build to counteract the powers of Seraph. So this new Seraph, if I remember correctly, he's got 2 things that he does that are different from any Seraph we've seen before. Number 1, he attacks pre-relentless. So he attacks before the relentless phase starts, and he can apply something called melee weakness to your units. So melee weakness is a new game mechanic. It is somewhat akin to spell weakness. When a unit has melee weakness, it increases the amount of damage that they take from normal combat. So Seraph can apply that to your units, and you have to play around the fact that your units become more fragile, but I probably shouldn't use the word fragile since that's yet another game mechanic. But yeah, they become weaker as they're kind of debuffed by him. And it's a new type of thing that you have to play around. And the fact that he can attack pre-relentless means that if he's applying melee weakness to your units, it's not just something you have to only care about with regards to the baseline units, but you also have to think about Seraph himself. On the player champion side, we've already talked about 3 out of the 5, I think. Yeah, so we've got 2 more to reveal today. Here's one. This is Wildington from the Awoken clan. So unlike the Sentient, he's a big buff brawler, not as kind of like shield and more defensive oriented. Still, obviously, visually very much tied to the clan and very much tied to the theme of the Exiles with their crystals that they all have on their bodies in different ways. I'm definitely not the lore master. If you've watched these streams before, I'm sure you already know that. But yeah, there is some new stuff going on, a through line among all of the champions and the new bosses. We'll look at what Wildington does in just a minute in detail in the logbook, but he has sweep, he can enchant your own units, and he has an incant ability as well. So quite a variety of upgrade paths. And this is Solgard The Martyr from the Stygian Guard. Solgard has quite a few new mechanics that are totally new. One of them is currently called Phased, and it can put him into a state where he cannot take damage or be targeted by anything at all, but you can build up some interesting abilities to trigger off of that. So he's got so many different things going on. We'll take a look at how his abilities work when we jump into the game. So yeah, that's really the kind of 3 other characters we hadn't previously revealed on stream. And we'll be going into all kinds of detail about all of them. But I also have this reveal. This is not finished yet, but this is our Friends and Foes key art that we're prepping for all of our marketing and promotion for the upcoming updates. So we've got the 5 new champions on the left, the other 3 that we had previously previewed: Shardtail Queen, Little Fade, and Primordium. And then we've got all the bosses on the right side, the new ones. We've got a new Seraph, we've got Arcus, and we've got Talos there. So we're super excited to be releasing Friends and Foes, and I can announce what the release date is going to be as well. Friends and Foes is going to be releasing in 2 weeks on September 3rd. So let me make sure, yes, that's exactly 2 weeks from today. Around the same time this stream started, something like that, we'll be releasing Friends and Foes. And ahead of the launch of Friends and Foes, we will be doing a public test train again, aka a public test server, sometime early next week, where if you are interested, you can get a preview of the content of Friends and Foes and help bring feedback or give your thoughts on any of the new upcoming features or changes and so on to help us craft the best possible experience. All right, let's look at some questions. So Jeffistophiles, how does phase differentiate from stealth? Stealth, you can still target units that have stealth with spells. With phase, you can't target them with anything, like literally nothing. Like artifacts won't hit them. So you can't hit them with spells. You can't be hit by attacks. So absolutely nothing. So it is different in that way. And I'm happy to answer any other questions that people have as they come up about what I've just said, as well as what we see in the game when we jump over. Yeah. Freaking out about launch right now. That's understandable. We just dropped a bunch of information. Friends and Foes, it's coming. But rather than looking at my dumb face, why don't we jump over and actually look at the game? I fixed my OBS woes. So here we are. Adarend, can he still attack during phase? No, you can't. So let's get into the logbook and look at a bunch of stuff. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about in here. First, actually, I know I'm such a tease, right? Before we jump in and look at the champions, I want to show you one thing that's been a highly requested feature from players that we are going to include in this update. Personal records are finally here in the logbook. These are the things that you see at the end of runs, where it says like your best record on X was, you dealt 500 damage or what have you. We've got them all here in the logbook, so you can review them, you can try to improve them, so on and so forth. They are all here. And ignore my stats though, because I am super cheaty. This is on the developer test branch. Yes, to Sinus and other speedrunners, I do not have a 4-second runtime victory world record speedrun. It looks like I do, but yeah, I actually don't. All right, other questions. Rich9219, are you going to showcase all the new champions? Yes, we're going to look at them in just a second. Adisasta. I have heard that the clans are based on deadly sins. Does that mean we can eventually get 2 new clans? Stay tuned with regards to announcements regarding new clans. So right now we're adding new champions to the existing clans in the Friends and Foes update. And I don't have anything else to say about new clans right now, but we'll talk in the future. Number 1, Pug Streamer. Does phase use capacity? Yes, it still takes some capacity in the room. Give me a big hug. Will these be retroactive? Yes, the person... I hope I'm not wrong on that. I'm like 99% sure I'm right that these are all retroactive. So we already had all the data. It just wasn't on display anywhere. So all your personal records will be here. All right. So I know a lot of people wanted that, but it's not the hottest part of the update. Let's jump over and look at other parts of the logbook. Okay. So we have some new stuff here. In terms of your progress tracking, you can see the 5 new champions here. And we added something that we do track if you've completed Covenant 25 with the Exile champions. That's what the second, I know it's small, I'm trying to point to it with my mouse. That's what the second little crown is right there above this Covenant 25 win. So we're not going to change the logbook so that you have another full matrix of these to fill out. But if you do want to prove your completion with all the new Exiled champions, you've got to beat every single combination at Covenant 25. So yeah, that's where that is at right now. Mars Greek God says, can you do damage on AoE to phase units? I think the answer is no. The answer is no. So you can use Inferno, for example, with a phased unit that's on your side, and you get the benefit of Inferno without damaging your own unit. Henrique NB. With all these new clan combinations, will random still be viable for Cov 25? I hope so. I mean, it's our hope that we can create new strategic possibilities with all of the new content, but that still it's all combinations are viable and interesting and create a much broader kind of spectrum of possible decks and strategies that you can pursue. Speaking of random, I'll just mention this. I won't show it right now, but another player requested feature, I think we even talked about it last week, was when you select random and you start a regular run, if you do a quick restart, we don't re-randomize the clans. Well, now we do. So that's been changed. If you have random, you go into a run and then you use quick restart, we will now re-randomize the not only the cards, but also in the Seraph and so on, but also the clans that you're playing. Cam West says, "What is my favorite new keyword?" Mine is one we haven't even talked about yet that I think is pretty interesting. It's called Rally, and why don't we just hop on over and take a look and see where that comes up? If I can find my mouse cursor, there it is. Whoops. All right. So here we have the Dark Forge upgrades page in the logbook, which has all of our classic old champions. Here's Hornbreaker Prince, aka Frank, but we're not interested in looking at him today. Let's look at Shardtail Queen, and we can go through what her abilities do. And she's got Rally. So we've got one here, the Royalty Path on Shardtail Queen. Let's look at the one in the middle real quick. So Rally is a new keyword. It's a trigger. Triggers when you play a unit card on this floor. So anytime a unit is summoned into the same floor that the Shardtail Queen is on, she will get this benefit of +5 attack. And there's a variety of other places where Rally gets used in the Friends and Foes update. So the Royalty Path is all about increasing her attack. Her base attack is very low, but she increases it as she gets other units summoned into the same room via Rally. We've got Imp Parade. Resolve, another trigger, triggers after combat. Add a Queen's Impling to your hand, and imp units on this floor cost -1 Ember. What is a Queen's Impling? Well, that's a card we haven't looked at. All 5 clans have one new card, and the card is associated with whether or not you choose Exiled or not. So for the Shardtail Queen, if you are using her, or you are using the exiled version of the Hellhorned as your allied clan, you will start with Queen's Impling, and it says what it does in a tooltip, and we'll see the art in just a second. It's a 1-cost unit. When it's summoned, it deals 10 damage to the front enemy unit. Of course, if you've taken this path, when you get one every turn, and they cost -1, so they cost 0. And if you dual class, so to speak, you could dual class with Rally to get the benefit off of that. And let's look at, I'm going to jump back to questions in just a second. Let me finish Shardtail Queen. And we've got the Imperialist Path as the third one. So on turn, which I think is a trigger that already existed, but we either didn't use it anywhere or it was like rarely used, I think. Kill all imp units. Deal 20 damage per imp to enemy units. So this is like an AoE imp sacrifice damage explosion kind of thing that combos in with an ability to summon a bunch of imps. And the poor Queen's Implings that you summon from here, from the Imp Parade path, are all blown up. Sad little guys to deal damage to the enemies. All right, I'll keep these open so you guys can look at that while I answer a few questions. Ollie Owltram, no question. Just want to say I think the game is fantastic and I love the support that you are giving it. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're super happy with how much people like the game, and we want to continue to support it as long as we can. And yeah, it's still really fun for us to work on, and we're excited about the new strategic possibilities that are coming in Friends and Foes. All right, Jimmy with a question mark. Can you do 2 of the same clan? For example, Hellhorn Prince and Queen. Right now, the answer to that is no. So we can't use 2 of the same clan as your primary and allied, and you can't have 2 champions at the same time. However, I believe I've mentioned this. We are working on official mod support, so possibly modders will add that functionality in the future. To be clear, official mod support is not launching with Friends and Foes, but it is coming. It's something else that we're working on. All right, number 1 pug streamer. Would Frostbite Shark apply to Phased? Let's talk more about Phased when we get to Solgard, who will be coming up on in just a minute. Doomquill, is Quick Restart going to be added to the end screen? it already is. It's in the game over screen. There's like, I'm 99% sure there's a button to go back to, maybe it's to go back to clan select. So if that's the case, then I guess we could add another button to do a quick restart from there. If that's the case, I've forgotten. It seems like a good idea to me, so we'll take note of it. Thank you for mentioning it. Crescendo 1909, will there be new card backs? There are no new card backs in this update, but it is something that we like, that system, and want to continue to expand it, and think some of the ones that we put in are cool, right? So yeah, look to the future for more card backs, but not in Friends and Foes. Sehig 2, does the champion count as a card to master? I'm pretty sure it does. It used to be 38 and there are now 40. I'm like 99% sure the answer to that is yes. So there's the new champion and then the one new card per clan, which is why there's one extra column of new cards across all of these. So there's also some new stuff to master, as you pointed out. Shelder, what is your favorite clan and why is it Wax Lads? I do like those guys. Wax lads and ladies. Look at this new champion right here. Let's go out of order. Let's just hope I don't forget where we are. Okay, let's talk about Little Fade. What does Little Fade do? We've got 3 upgrade paths currently. And let me mention that all of this is subject to change too. I mean, we're still iterating on balance and may need to make more changes about these mechanics. And we encourage you to play the public test when that comes out next week. Anybody who owns the game can switch over and help test this content, and we're interested in your feedback, and we may make changes. But this is what all these things are set at right now. So we've got the Firelight path. Extinguish, apply +5/+5, and burn out 2 to friendly units. So essentially a boost to your burnout units to keep them alive longer and keep them stronger. We've got the Eternal Flame path. Endless, extinguish, +20 attack and +5 life. That's 4 Little Fade, but +1 Ember cost. So she can get stronger really quickly, but her Ember cost to summon starts increasing rapidly too, which is interesting for sure. We've had, you know, some of us on the dev team testing run into situations where like Little Fade's getting really strong, but then you can't cast her anymore because she costs too much Ember. I will point out Little Fade, of course, is little, so she's 1 capacity as a champion. And the final one is called Little Icarus. Spikes 1 on Slay, gain +1 attack, and spikes 1 permanently. So she grows in attack power, and spikes power kind of playing off of the Subsuming Blade. Similar mechanics, some permanently growing power that goes along with that card. All right, back to questions. I'll leave this up. So Husky 709, will Rally trigger with Shroud Split on morsels? That's a really good question. I don't know the answer. My assumption would be yes, that it would, but something that we should try, and you can try when the public test comes out. But yeah, I feel like it should. But I may be missing something in the nuance of how it works. Izzy Stardust, what do the path upgrades look like for Imp Parade? Okay, let's jump over to that. Imp Parade. So first one, you get one Queens Impling. The next one, you get a Fledgling Imp. Fledgling Imp, which is the Rage one. And then the third one is you get a Fledgling Imp and a Welder Helper. And her stats are increasing. So you get different types of imps depending on what level you have chosen. So if you wanted to keep it at Queen's Impling, you would have to stay at level 1. That is how that currently works. Oralp. Does Little Fade Extinguish apply to herself as well? I don't know. I'm not sure on this one. On this one, it definitely does. So it seems like it should on this one too. So my guess would be yes, that it does. Lillian Cho, if Little Fade dies, but the enemy dies to spikes, does the Slay trigger? That's a good question. I feel like it should. I can't say definitively yes or no, but I think it should. So we should make that happen, I think. All right. I'm Crispy. Does her on-turn ability hit all units on that floor or all units on the board? That was back over here on Sharktail Queen. It is all units on the floor. So there is almost nothing in the game that hits the entire train. I'm pretty sure in the live game right now, there is nothing at all. In this update, we are adding something that does. And as a quick preview, before we jump back, there's also one new artifact per clan. We haven't talked about that. One of them doesn't have an icon. See if you can guess which one. Hint, it says work in progress on it. Anyway, but yeah, there's going to be some new artifacts, and one of the new artifacts hits everything in the train. We'll take a look at those in a minute. All right, Bliss Batch. What is the difference between on turn and the attack icon, the crossed swords? So I think those happen at the same time. The attack icon is just, even on this path, the Imperialist Shardtail Queen will attack normally. So she'll attack for 5 damage as her base attack value here. But she will also trigger this. So any imp that exists in the room with her will count for this effect, and then it will do AoE damage to the enemies. If there's no imps in there, then it doesn't happen, basically. Great Poison. Mark, if you take up 5 spaces, how do you use your own imps? Sadly, I can't without at least getting a capacity upgrade, so need to play some Umbra to get my capacity up. Darkest Tempest. So are the new daily challenges going to use exiled champions? Yes. Daily challenges and Hell Rush are both going to randomize exiled champions in under their current, otherwise the rules are going to be the same, but we will see exiled champions pop up. Zilver, do exile clans have different starter cards? Yes. If you look at clan select, all right, let's just look at clan select right now. We can come back to the mechanics of the champions in just a sec. Okay, so to answer that question, and I'm sure create some new ones, here's good old clan select. There is something new here. There's a new button. So this is the original clans, you know, choose your original champion and your original starting card. And the button just to the right, which I'm going to hesitate to hover for a second, is to choose the exiled option. So you can choose exiled for your primary clan and your allied clan. When you change it for your primary clan, it changes your champion and your starter card. When you change it for your allied clan, it only changes your starter card. So there's now all new combinations, like you can be exiled primary, original on allied, or vice versa, and you can make any combination of those two things that you want. So let's click this, and now we are seeing Queens Impling too. So there is the Shardtail Queen in her full animated glory. She doesn't have all of her visual effects yet, so there are still things that we're working on. We're not totally done with all the polish and things that we want to do here. But there's Queens Impling. Little cute little helper impling. Unfortunately, that gets sacrificed very frequently by the Shardtail Queen herself to deal damage with her, was it the Imperialist Path? I may be in the wrong path name, but anywho, that's the Queen's Impling. I hope you guys like it. Speaking of the Queen's Impling, I have a little special thing. Check this out. Hope you guys liked a little Bohemian Rhapsody. All right, so yeah, you can choose between Exiled and Original on both your primary clan, where there's a new card, and here is the alternative card, the Exiled card for the Awoken. It's called Root Seeds. Apply +2 attack, draw +1 next turn. So that's alternative to Restore. If you choose this, you do not get Restore. In fact, it's impossible to get it, I think. Like, it never appears in a card draft. It's an alternative starter card. Same up here. You don't start with Torch. If you take the Exile path for Hellhorn, either as your allied clan or your primary clan, so you could get Queen's Impling here as your allied clan too. Yeah, you do not get Torch, so you don't have that direct damage spell anymore. Okay, that was a lot of stuff. Let's jump back to the logbook so we can talk more about that. Here we were. Okay. Darkest Tempest. So are the new daily challenges going to use Exile? Oh, yeah, so that one. Yes, they are. Where were we? Okay. Sehig 2. Is the rally trigger a permanent enhancement? It seems like it would be very strong with melting. I think no. This is for the battle. If anything that's permanent says permanently on it. So this is scoped just to the battle. Chainik. What about UI will you improve? Like wasted space or deck with only 4 rows? I don't know completely what you mean, but I can show one new piece of UI functionality from the game real quick. So let's start a new run. We'll play a real run later. Oh, here's something I didn't mean to show yet, but that's cool. It's all right. Here's something new. We have a new boss battle indicator here because Talos and Arcus, who are the 2 new bosses in Friends and Foes, appear at Ring 3 and Ring 6 as alternatives instead of Daedalus and Fel. And we've got our new Seraph The Patient Serif variant. We now show all 3 of them. Right now, the game is currently set up to, like 100% of the time it's Talos, 100% of the time it's Arcus, and 100% of the time it's the new Seraph. Before we ship Friends and Foes, we're going to go back to normal and they'll just all be randomized into the random pool of bosses that can appear. But for now, we're forcing them on just for testing. And that will also be the case when we go out with the public test server, public test train. We're also going to have the this kind of forced on for now. But yeah, you can see what bosses you're going to face. You can see information about them from here with all their tooltips. And you can see what Seraph is going to do. So, all right, we'll look at what those do in more detail in a minute, but I'll just run into battle. The actual thing I wanted to show, jumping over to here, was something that was requested by players a number of times, which is a how many waves until the boss comes out counter. So there is a new waves remaining UI element up here in the upper left, just below the battle name, that tells you how many waves of enemies there are to still come out until the boss does. So if I hit end turn, those guys come up, these guys come in, that happens, the collector appears, and now it's 2. So 2 left until the boss comes. Yeah, so there are 2 different UI improvements that we are adding in this update. Chainik, I'm sorry if those are not exactly what you were looking for, but happy to take suggestions on other things that players are looking for. I think our best place to put those suggestions is in Discord, discord.gg/monstertrain, and then there's a feedback channel where you can vote on, you can post and vote on changes that you want to see. All right, Bliss Batch, can we look at the new standard cards for the new champions? Yes, you can. We should probably look at them like as we look at the champions, though. So, in the Hellhorn, we already saw Queens Imp. Here it is again, in case you missed it. 1/1 summon. On summon, deal 10 damage to the front enemy unit. So it's a little nuke. All right, and we were looking at the Melting Remnant. We were looking at Little Fade's upgrade path. So let's find Little Fade's new starting card. Where is it? Here it is. Primitive Mold. Reform a random unit. So unlike Molded, which allows you to choose which unit you want to reform, Primitive Mold is a version that is randomized, which is not bad. And you start with multiple reform cards in your hand, basically, since it replaces Dreg. You don't start with Dregs anymore. But it is random, so it's got that drawback. I'm Crispy. Does the Queen's on-turn ability hit all units only on that floor or all units on the board? We already answered that one. Mackeye. How does the Eternal Flame Path work with Volatile Gauge? Let's jump back over. Where was it? Here we go. How does it work with Volatile Gauge? Good question. I don't know. I don't think I've personally tried that. Volatile Gauge is going to override it, I think. So, as always, Volatile Gauge is still a really strong artifact and still really good. So it's probably a perfect artifact to have with the Eternal Flame Path. So if I was playing Little Fade and I started with Volatile Gauge, I think I would definitely be going down that path or thinking hard about it if it was available in that run. Does the Shardtail Queen attack first or resolve on turn effect first? That I can't remember. I'm sorry, Adrind. I don't know. We can maybe find out. We're going to play Sharktail Queen in a little bit, in a few minutes once we're done going through. Let's try to figure that out as we go. All right, Orb. When you play random, will you get an exiled champ 50% of the time? Yes, mathematically, that's the problem with random. I mean, you could get a streak where if it's pure random, you could get Hellhorn Prince 5 times in a row, right? But I think with random, the exiled stuff is mixed in, so it's just, I think, randomly going to go between them. I got to make sure that that's true, though, because it might be based on what you had chosen back in Clan Select, if you chose Exile or not. So I'm not exactly sure, because that new full randomization and the changes about random just went in like yesterday or something like that. So I haven't personally had time to really dive in and see exactly how it works. All right, Adis Asta. Does the queen hit all imps with her tail to kill them? She does hit people with her tail, so we'll see that in a minute. Sahig 2. How do you get rejuvenate units to work if you have root seeds? Well, you have to have healing from some other path. So that's part of the trade-off, and part of what I think is interesting with changing the starter cards. So we looked at root seeds. So here's Wildington here, and root seeds is here. So if you take root seeds, you don't get restore at all. So it's going to be harder to trigger things like rejuvenate because you don't start out with this base healing, which means these guys like Thorned Hollow are going to be less interesting picks. But yeah, maybe you're playing with an allied clan, and Root Seeds is a more interesting choice for you for your allied clan. So the choice is yours. You have all the possibilities to theory craft about to make the best possible combination for the strategy that you want to pursue. Can I see the Awoken Exiled? Sure. Here's a big picture of him, is right there. So Wildington. And I can jump over in the logbook while we're looking at him here to get it prepped so that we can look at his upgrade paths. Here we are. So we've got 3 paths on Wildington. We've got the Thorn Lord path. When you summon him, you get a couple of copies of Sting. He does have 3 capacity as a champion for his base capacity. And he's got an incant ability, +1 attack on incant, which combos nicely with Sting, because Sting is a free spellcast. We've got the Strangler path. He gets sweep, and on strike, when he hits an enemy unit, they are rooted, which seems like it would be really good, right? It's like you can AoE keep all the enemies in a room every turn. However, if more enemies enter the train or climb up the floor where they're rooted, it can get out of control. So this is actually it can be a little bit tough to manage how to make best use of this, given it can backfire having like a ton of enemies in the same room. And we've got the Predator path. He gets quick, and this is the first time a player unit has enchant. So enchanter, there's a certain class of enemy units, we call them enchanters on the dev team, that give things like quick or multi-strike to enemy units on the enemy side. This Predator path now can grant quick to friendly units. So all the friendly units in the same room, in the same floor, I should say, gain quick from this. All right, a couple other questions to catch up on. Shailder, does the Queen's Imp killing trigger harvest? Does Queen's Imp killing trigger harvest? Yes, it should. Jonk Master 10, when does the public beta come out? Early next week. So I'm not sure what day. We're hoping for Monday or Tuesday is the plan. We're going to be bringing out the public test train, and that'll be announced on all the normal places, Discord, Reddit, and so on, Twitter. And anybody who owns the game will be able to switch over to that branch and test out the new content, provide feedback, and so on. Crescendo 1909. Can you display how much overkill damage you do to a boss instead of generic red cross so I know how good my floor performed? That request has come up before. I don't know if it's been posted in our new Discord feedback channel for feedback voting. If you're willing to, please join up there and post it there so we can get some people voting on it again. But yeah, I think that's a good idea, so I'd like to support that. No promises that'll make it into Friends and Foes, but I'd like to do that someday because I know it's a fun stat to look at and take screenshots of and so on. All right, Mr. Andy51, does this update touch on multiplayer, primarily an option for private friend Hell Rush versus public? I'd be happy to talk about that. So that's already possible and has been possible since launch, but it's not super clear, I think, to people for how to do it. So let me just do Just as a quick aside, a quick tutorial on how to do a private Hell Rush. So you go to challenges, and then you got to go to community challenge, not to Hell Rush, because if you click Hell Rush play here, this is going to be random matchmaking with people on the internet. So if you go to community challenges, you can create a challenge, and you can create a Hell Rush right here. And in the last update for Wild Mutations, we added some additional controls here. So you can have a fast timer, a normal timer, a slow timer, or a very slow timer. So normal is the speed and the kind of timer in Hell Rush. If you do the random matchmaking, that's normal. So you can make it even faster. You can turn it off completely. And then you can make it a lot slower if you want to have more time to think about it. So I'll just randomize here. You can also, whoops, I just previewed another card. That's another new one. You can choose between Exile and normal, of course. Whatever, I'll just make this challenge. Let's make it a normal timer Hell Rush. I'm going to create it. Okay, so this got a share code name here. Earliest reduces legal. You can copy the deep link. You can send it to your friends. When I hit start run, oh, I just showed a message about mods. So, oh, something's broken here. So, sorry, we're in progress working on modding support, which I mentioned earlier. Official modding support is not launching in Friends and Foes, but it's coming. All right, so imagine you didn't have this pre-release version of the game that has something going on here. When I hit start run, I would be joined into this challenge, which is basically a Hell Rush. So I would be in a Hell Rush lobby waiting. And so if you told your friends, you say, give them the deep link or give them this share code, which they can enter into the community challenges area, they can get into a private Hell Rush with you. So that's how you do it. That is how you play a private Hell Rush with your friends. Nobody out there is trying to guess what these names are. So although technically like anyone in the world could join this, nobody's going to. And this name was created right when I created the challenge, so nobody knows what it is. So you can totally do a private Hell Rush using that. All right, jumping back to the logbook, let's look at a few of the other upgrade paths. So we covered Wildington. I've been told from my question helper, Genesee, thank you, Genesee, that we're holding questions just for a second so that I can try to get through more stuff in this time that I have. Thank you all for all the questions. It's super fun to talk about this stuff. We're always excited when we reveal new things like Friends and Foes. There's our kind of in-progress key art again on that. All right, so let's look at the other champions real quick. All right, Solgard. We've got the Dire Channel upgrade path. So on all paths, he's got Incant, gain Shard 1. Shard is a power. It's a thing that can stack. It powers Solgard the Martyr's abilities. It's green, so it's considered a buff. On turn, deal 3 damage to the front enemy unit per stack of Shard. So you can start to stack up Shard, and it'll start to deal a lot of damage if you can get enough stacks of it for this damage to really start to count. We've got the Cold Channel path. Same thing, and can't gain Shard 1. On turn, apply Frostbite 1 to enemy units per stack of Shard. And finally, the Titan Channel path. This is where phased. There were questions about phased before. Phased cannot attack, cannot be damaged or targeted in any way. If Solgard has 6 stacks of Shard, remove phased. So this is kind of like a sleeping giant path. If you look at the highest one, his base stats are 175, 175, which are quite high for a champion. But you have to get 12 stacks of Shard built up to get him to a point where he can be targeted by other things and start attacking and doing things like that. Lil Saiha, will Shard deplete like fuel on that one Umbra unit? No, it does not deplete. So you just have to build it up over, probably 1 or more turns. All the tuning values here, like I've been saying, are subject to change. Like maybe the stats aren't good enough, maybe they're too high, maybe 12 stacks of shards isn't enough for this, maybe it should be less or more. We are going to need to do more play testing. We're doing that now on our side and are eager to get your feedback as well before the update officially launches. And Husky709 says, will tempering buff removing Seraph also remove Shard? Yes, because it is a buff. So it's green. That version of Seraph cleanses green effects. All right. And the last champion to look at is Primordium. So Primordium has another new mechanic. It's called Buffet. Buffet is a new mechanic around eating. So each stack of buffet allows a unit to be eaten an additional time. So Primordium is basically like made up of a bunch of morsels and can be munched on repeatedly. So your champion can also be eaten. So Primordium, Buffet 2, he starts with Damage Shield 2, and when he is eaten, add this unit's attack, health, and status effects to the eater. So it transfers everything attached to him, and he can be eaten twice. The Caped Caper, 3 morsels in a trench coat or a riot. Well, you don't know what's underneath this hood. I mean, it's kind of, or this cloak, I should say. It's basically like a trench coat. There could be 3 morsels inside. You'll have to wait and see. All right, we've got the Stalwart Snack. This path, Superfood, is mostly about damage shield transference. The Stalwart Snack is about stats. So all that goes up on this path right now is the buffet level. His base stats don't go up, but if you can buff those base stats in some way, he can keep getting munched on and really boost up another unit in the room that Primordium is in. And we've got the Aggressive Edible, which is a version that focuses on attack. So he's very weak the entire time. The buffet value stays at 2 the entire time, but his he increases his attack at each level. So Primordium so far, I think, has proven to be the hardest one to balance. It's been quite overpowered most of the time. Like, we've kept nerfing it, so it may still need more before it actually comes out. We'll have to wait and see, but it's definitely a fun twist on the eating mechanic, the fact that he can be eaten multiple times with this buffet new trigger. New ability, I should say. All right, let's look at artifacts. We've got 5 new artifacts, 1 per clan. Queen's Tail from Hellhorn. When you summon your first imp unit each turn, gain 1 ember and draw 1 card. Pretty handy. Imps come up a lot. In the Awoken, we've got Emblem of the Exiles. At the start of turn, the front friendly unit on each floor gains 5 life. This feels really strong to me. I was playing with it yesterday. It feels slightly OP to me, but I guess we'll see. We'll see where that one goes. This one doesn't have an icon yet. Work in progress. But from the Stygian, Kinstone Totem. When a card is discarded before the end of your turn, gain 1 ember. Which I didn't show all the starting cards yet, so I'll show those again in just a second, but this combos with the new starting card. From Umbra, we've got the Shadow Box. When you play your 20th morsel unit of the battle, deal 150 damage to all enemy units on all floors. This is what I was getting at 15 minutes ago when I said we were going to add something that damages everything on all floors. So there you go. There's Shadow Box. And from the Melting Remnant, we've got Fade's First Blade. Friendly units gain Rage 3 whenever they lose a stack of Burnout. Something, yeah, like a benefit associated with losing Burnout. So interesting to think about how to make use of that well. As always, I caveat, everything's subject to change. Some of these might get buffed, some of them might get nerfed. We'll have to see. All right, let's look at the remaining starter cards. So we already saw Queens Imp. We saw Root Seeds. From the Stygian Guard, the new starter card is here. It's called Forgone Name. Apply Frostbite 4 to the front enemy unit and discard a card at random, which can help you combo with Offering cards, similar to Offering Token, although Offering Token lets you choose, so it's a little riskier. But rather than starting with the original starting card, which was Frozen Lance, right here, you instead start with Forgone Name when you use Solgard. With the Umbra, the new starting card is called Plink. Deal 1 damage to enemy units, so it's an AoE damage to all enemies in the room. Scales well with magic power. And on Slay, add a common or uncommon morsel unit to your hand. So you can get, if you manage to kill a lot of enemies with this, especially early game, you can wipe out floors of enemies. You can get a crap load of morsels really fast, which is fun. And in the Melting Remnant, we already saw the starting card. It is Primitive Mold. Reform a random unit, which replaces Dreg if you choose the Exiled champion. What else was I going to say? Oh, there was one other mechanical change I wanted to show off briefly. There's another new keyword. Where does it appear? Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. It's called attuned. There are other places where it appears, but here's the first one I found. So, multiply the effects of magic power by 5. So we added this. It's just like a buff, basically, to existing spells that did not scale well into the late game. As a way to make them scale better so that they're more viable in late game decks. So you can boost things that have attuned, spells that have attuned with substantially more magic power because of that multiplier. So be on the lookout for that. I don't remember what all the cards that got the attuned keyword, but Titan's Gratitude is an example of one of them. Okay, I think outside of the new boss mechanics, I think I've previewed all the content now. So let's start a new run. Yeah, you can jump through all the new champions, and they all have their new voices, and they all sound different. Look different. They do different stuff. Some of them have their visual effects, and other ones don't. So we're still working on that. Still not totally done with all the polishing and everything. But yeah, we've got all of our new characters here. For my one real quick test run to show off some stuff, we're gonna go with Hellhorned Awoken, the old classic. We'll go with both of the exiled cards. So we'll take Root Seeds instead of Restore, and we'll go, of course, our Shardtail Queen and Queens Imp instead of Frank and Torch. The, I guess, inside joke meme is that Hornbreaker Prince's name is Frank. So if you hear me call someone Frank, that's who I'm referring to. All right, let's depart. Can't hear the game. What is wrong with my audio capture? No, my audio here is fully on. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Let me jump over. Well, let me look at this. Let's see. What is going on with my game audio? I definitely tested this. There we go. Let's see. Working now? All right. Looks like it should be working. Let's go back. I want to show off the sounds. They're cool. Sorry about that. I switched sound devices in Windows. So here is our Shardtail Queen. Wildington. Solgard. Primordium. Little Fade. All right, but we're going to go with this. Sorry if it's too quiet. I have it turned down so you can hear me talking. I don't want to mess with it and get something wrong here, so let's roll. All right, so what do we get? We got Talos. So we've talked about Talos previously, but I'll just, as a reminder, explain how she works. She attacks also before Relentless, so that's something that the new Seraph the Patient, and Talos share. They both attack before the Relentless phase begins, and she has abilities that occur on strike. So when she attacks, it does things like daze your units and so on, so things you need to play around. Arcus summons in these dark shards. They're like traps. There was definitely some questions that Genesee helped me find. I think came from Reddit that I'm going to address in just a minute. And these traps are things that the players have to play around. So they use phased also. They cannot be damaged. They cannot be killed. They can't be targeted by artifacts or anything. And they do things that they're summoned, only one per turn, and they're summoned into a floor. And then you have to play around them. So like the Looming Dark Shard says, incant, all spells in hand gain 1 ember. So if you play a spell while focus on the room where Looming Dark Shard is, then you pay that penalty, basically. So they're not permanent. They go away after 1 turn. You just have to play around them. And there's 3 different ones. And then we've got Seraph the Patient, which we talked a little bit about before. He attacks in all combat rounds and applies melee weakness to your units. And melee weakness says, in the next round of combat, this unit takes additional damage for each stack of melee weakness. Something you got to watch out for. All right, let's look at our new artifacts. What do we get? Some ones we already had in the past. All right, let's take that one, just for fun. I don't have a ton of time to play a full run, so we are going to have to kind of go a little bit faster here. All right, here's the Sharktail Queen with some more visual effects, looking cooler in the game here at the Dark Forge. So why don't we take this one, the Imperialist, since there were some questions about how that works. So on turn, kill all imp units, deal 20 damage per imp to enemy units. So let's go with that. Retribution, always annoying with spikes. Nah, let's not take it. I'm definitely gonna use some cheats here to get through the game, but yeah, let's show off at least one combat here. So, all right, let's summon in our Sharktail Queen. I mean, Molded is... Whoops, I started with Melting Remnant as my ally. I wasn't paying attention. That's okay, though. So yeah, why don't we do this? Why don't we summon in the Queen's Imp? I'll slow down the game speed so we can see. There was a question as to, does the attacker on turn trigger first? So we'll find out. We're going to take a little damage. We see both enemies dying because of our Imperialist ability here. And we also see our Imp dying because it's going to be killed by the Imperialist ability also. So let's see how that works. Well, it looks like that answers that question that came up previously. The on turn, triggers before she attacks. All right. So we've got Primitive Mold. We already knew what that was going to be because we had that set up. All right. What do we want to do here? So, okay, to get 40 damage, I would love to have 2 imps in here to trigger off of. So why don't we do that? Now we're going to deal a lot of damage. We're still not going to see Shardtail Queen attack because we're getting too much damage out of these imp nukes. All right. Burnout 2. All right, let's play that one there. Whoops. Probably should have done that. All right, there we go. Not looking super great for us in terms of this battle. I think we'll finally get to see our queen attack here. Yep, there she goes, pushing out her big scorpion-looking tail. Hey, we got her back, not bad. All right. And good old Hammer Bro, he's not long for the world. All right, cool. Let's see here. I want to get into the new content real quick, just to try to show that stuff. All right, I'm gonna use some developer cheats, so I'm sneaky here, hiding. All right, cool. All right, we're at Talos now. There she is, Talos the Architect. What does she do? Slay, gain armor 25. Okay, so she doesn't have a strike trigger this time, but she does attack before the Relentless phase, so you gotta watch out for that. Enemy units enter with Rage 2, and she has a armor gain on Slay ability. And there's 3 variants of Talos and Arcus, just like there are 3 variants of Daedalus and Fel. That's important to mention too. So there's a variety of new things to deal with. So instead of at Ring 3 there being 3 total boss possibilities, now there are 6 total boss possibilities, and same at Ring 6, along with the 4th Seraph, which we've already talked about. All right, so there she is, just as like a quick preview. I'm running out of time. I only really have around an hour, so I'll just show you what she does. So she's going to attack. So we're seeing that the Train Steward is going to die here, and that's because Talos is going to attack before the Relentless phase, and she's going to kill him because she does 11 damage here, and she is going to gain 25. It's represented as life. It's going to be armor, but that's the idea. So let's just play that out, see what happens. Boom. So you got to be careful, and it's something new to consider and think about during your deployment and pre-Relentless phase. All right. I'm going to do something a little sneaky here. Let's jump ahead to over to Arcus so you can see how that works. Just doing something in the game here. All right, I've made it to him. Cool. Here he is. And here are the two different types of dark shards you can summon this time. So one is the Shattering Dark Shard. Harvest. When an enemy unit dies, add a Weight of Contrition card to the top of the draw pile. Annoying, for sure. And the Looming Dark Shard we looked at before. This is the one with Incant that adds Ember if you trigger that when it is in the room that you're casting the spell in. All right. So there is Arcus, and there is one of these Dark Shards. So this is the Looming Dark Shard. Phased, again, cannot attack, cannot be damaged or targeted in any way. Like, I can't ascend it. If I played this Train Steward here, he will not attack it. There is no way to get rid of it, but on resolve, it despawns. So it goes away after this turn. Yeah, if I played the Queen's Impling in here, it would damage Arcus, not the Looming Dark Shard. So this is the one where if I play any spell, all spells in hand gain +1. So yeah, you got to play random. That's how it works. And yeah, just to answer these questions from Reddit, so he seems invincible. Is there a mechanic that will help? This is from a Reddit user named Worthiness. They're a challenge but not insurmountable and be killed off. If they had a mechanic where they could be feasibly killed off, I think it would be fine. There's not no options, right? So yeah, your concern basically was that there was no options at all to deal with this after you heard me mention something about it last week. But yeah, so you can deal with it. You don't play in that room, basically, is how you get around that. Or you accept the fact that you really want to cast a spell in that room, and you just accept the downside. And you try to find another way to get around that. All right, will this be used like Daedalus with his bombs? Effects that last a turn and then self-destruct. Yes, that's exactly how they work, basically. They're Daedalus bombs in a different form that do different stuff. And that was from Gigas DCU. Ultimate Eye says, how do you interact with him? Decreasing the amount of interaction is never a good thing in my eyes. I hope there's a meaningful way to play around them because it seems like you could just get stuck. There is no way to get stuck, so I think these are all like similar questions about how it works. Yeah, they last one turn. You can play around it by using other floors. And these are only in the pre-relentless phase as well. So, anywho, yeah, those are some of the broad kind of questions about how Arcus works. So yeah, here I'll bring in this Train Steward. Sure, let's cast a spell. We can see how that works. That triggered and can't. Now my other spells now cost 1 more Ember, so Hidden Passage costs more. And we'll attack him and see which one of these he summons next. I don't know if he just rotates through it. There, it despawned. It's gone now from that room. Arcus is... he put another one in that room, so he's just being a jerk. So now we've got the Shattering Dark Shard. Triggers when a unit on this floor dies. When an enemy unit dies, add Weight of Contrition. So there's no enemy units in here. None of them are going to die. So that one is irrelevant and does nothing. So we can do whatever we wanted here. It really just depends on what it's doing and how that affects your run. Yeah, let's jump over one more time. Let's go back to Seraph, just so you can just see what he looks like in game. The new one, Seraph the Patient. Sorry, I'm just going through my little secret cheats again. All right. Cool, here we are. He's got the Rallying Emblem. Attacks in all combat rounds and applies melee weakness. There he is. Hell has no hope left. Yeah, so let's see. He is definitely going to kill that guy, so let's use the Sharktail Queen and we can see how it works. Oh, he also has Rally. Triggers when you play a unit card on this floor, so he just I guess for the purposes of this battle, Seraph just got +5 attack permanently by me summoning in Shardtail Queen, which is not good, because now she's dead. Well, we can Hidden Passage this guy. So, alright, let's see what happens to Shardtail Queen when we end our turn. So, Seraph attacked. And there he used his spell, so that effect's still in progress, but yeah, now she has melee weakness. So it takes 2x damage during the next round of combat from normal combat damage. So, rough. Something else you have to play around, and it's a new type of strategic change from the types of Serifs that can show up. So yeah, we are hoping that all of these new mechanics across your units, your new cards, and all the new enemy stuff is going to create a whole new kind of set of strategic possibilities for Monster Train. All right, so last week we talked about Shark Week. I just wanted to follow up briefly on that. We've chosen a winner. It's a silly one. Let me see. Where is that one? It is here. So this is from Fluffatron. He's got some fantastic shark ASCII art in here as well. I would like to submit this deck for Shark Week. It has big sharks and small sharks. And so much frostbite in this deck, you're guaranteed to find it super cool. I like that the submission even has 2 more sharks in it. It's got Titan sentries. We've got 4 sharks. There's 4 of them. I think it's a little hard for me to see, but it looks like one of them might have the vent upgrade that makes them extra small. We've got Frenzied Swarm. Frenzied Swarm's got sharks in it too. Yeah, that's a lot of sharks. All right, Fluffatron, thank you for your submission. I'm willing to take a few more questions, so I'm basically out of time. I'm not going to play a full run, but if there are any other questions that are just like burning on people's minds or that I missed and didn't see yet, I am happy to take a few more for another 5 or 10 minutes, let's say. So what do you got, viewers? I'm happy to jump over. And Genesee, if you could unlock the questions again, I'd appreciate it. Jump back into the logbook just in case, because it seems like that's the place where we're going to want to look at things. La Magia Live. That makes 2 versions of Seraph with yellow crystals in the wings. Will there be a second blue one and a second red one eventually? Well, maybe so. You know, we're still Friends and Foes, our new update, you know, coming out in 2 weeks from today on September 3rd. But we are still thinking beyond that and what else we might do. So I'm not going to promise anything. We've just revealed so much stuff. There's so much new stuff coming into the game right now. We'll hold talking about other new things for another time. Sahig 2, can you walk through how Primordium works in terms of Morsel Maker Shroud Spike interaction? Can he eat morsels? Ooh, interesting question. He is not a morsel, so he does not work with Morsel Maker. He is not a morsel, so he does not work with Shroud Spike either. Can he eat morsels? I think the answer to that is yes. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure he can eat morsels. I haven't tried that, actually. I personally haven't tried that, but I'm pretty sure he can. But yeah, it's important that he is not a morsel unit. So we did a rewrite on some of the artifacts and so on. Yeah, like Teeth of Gold used to, for example, specifically say when a morsel is eaten, and now it just says when a unit is eaten, because Teeth of Gold also works with Primordium. So yeah, you're gonna have to play with it. It's definitely like the craziest one of the new champions, I think, is Primordium. It's got the weirdest interactions and stuff, but give it a shot. All right, Datagny Jones, what's been nerfed? There are very few balance changes since Wild Mutations with regards to the cards that's not related to the new stuff. So I honestly can't think of anything off the top of my head. There's been like a handful of changes, but they'll be listed in the full detailed patch notes, which we'll post just like we did last time for Wild Mutations, the preliminary patch notes when the public test train starts next week. And then when the full update finalizes and we lock in everything, we'll post it again as part of the announcement of going live. But yeah, not many balance changes for the base game. We've been heavily focused on all the new content and how it fits in. Shadow Marks. Any plans for more background art in the fights in the future? Yeah, we'd love to. I mean, people have suggested in the past it would be great if there was like a unique background per Ring of Hell, which I agree would be really cool. So I don't know. We're not working on that right now, but it's something that I agree would be cool. So we'll see what happens. Quintessence 95. Which cards have the attuned effect? I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. So we found Which one was that? Titan's Gratitude. Let's see what else we can find. Let's look around. None of those. Let's jump over elsewhere. There's definitely a few places where a tune shows up. Okay, Impressive. Here's another one. Sacrifice Imp, deal 50 damage to the front enemy unit. This card, in some ways, got a lot better already just from the existence of the new Exiled champion, Shardtail Queen, in the starting card, but it now also has Attuned, so Impressive can get a lot better than it used to be able to. All right. That's a lot of stuff. Friends and foes. That's our new update that's coming. This is our kind of key art for the promotion of the event, or the update. We're not completely done with this, but yeah, coming soon. Friends and Foes, free update to Monster Train coming September 3rd. If you're interested in playing it before it's done, you can join us early next week to play the public test train. It'll work just like it did for Wild Mutations. We'll be announcing it on Discord, Reddit, and so on. Probably Steam as well, all the usual channels. Yeah, I hope you liked this in-depth preview of everything that we are doing with Friends and Foes. Thank you all for joining me here, and I hope you look forward to the update. I'm definitely looking forward to getting it out and getting more feedback on it, and trying to make Monster Train into the best game we possibly can. So thank you for joining me today. Talk to you next week. Bye for now.